Well, I got my notes, check. Sunglasses, check. Hat, check. Pepsi, check. Thick skin, check. Let's go. Hey, welcome to Golden Blue Dude, everybody. If you're a college football fan, might as well hit the like and subscribe button because that's all we do over here. Go check out our Patreon page. We call our Patreons the shot callers because that's exactly what they do around here. And when the regular season gets here, our Patreons will get to decide which game we'll live stream, and you'll get to watch with Golden Blue Dude. And the score prediction contest will be coming back. Every week I pick out a game and my Patreons guess the score, and whoever comes closest to the score wins $20 every single week, and you can win as many times as you want. The higher the Patreon, the more guesses you get per week. I promise you, I am going to get back to normal college football talk real soon, probably later today or tomorrow. But I still had to get this particular video off my chest. Real quick, we're actually about to hit 8,000 subscribers. We just hit 7,000 not even a week or so ago, so 8,000 is already on the horizon. Last time I checked, 40 subscribers away. Let's make it happen. Let's go ahead and get 8,000 out of the way on our way to 10,000. The goal was to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It looks like it's going to happen. Let's keep it rolling, guys. But today I want to talk about something that happened yesterday that can mean two things. So yesterday, the ACC and the Pac-12 announced a loose alliance. But to me, that's really them just kicking the Big Ten out. Because remember, the alliance used to be the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. But then the Big Ten stabs the Pac-12 in the back and grabs USC and UCLA. And I understand it was UCLA and USC that went to the Big Ten. But by accepting them, you technically did stab the Pac-12 in the back. And I'm not throwing shade on the Big Ten. That was the right move to do. Don't get me wrong on that one. That was the correct move. Well done, Big Ten. But by doing that, that was essentially stabbing the Pac-12 in the back. So basically, if you think about it, they're just kicking the Big Ten out of their alliance. The alliance was already there, so I don't even know what the point of that announcement was. Although I do think it can go in two directions. I did talk about the first direction yesterday, and I'm going to hit on that briefly right now. I think one direction of this is the ACC could do what the Big Ten. They see the Pac-12 vulnerable, and they could steal some teams from the Pac-12. But really, there's only one team that I could see the ACC grabbing from the Pac-12, and that would be Stanford. And the only reason the ACC would get Stanford is if that ensured that Notre Dame would become a full-time member of the ACC. I truly think that one of the reasons why the Big Ten brought in USC was to get Notre Dame. And for now, from what I'm hearing, Notre Dame is saying thanks, but no thanks. But that's probably not a no forever. They could eventually, in fact, join the Big Ten. But for right now, Notre Dame is saying thanks, but no thanks. So the ACC could also do something similar. They could say, well, what if we bring in Stanford? What if we bring in Navy? What if we bring in both of them? Would that get you to commit to be a full-time member to the ACC? Because those are two of Notre Dame's rivals that they play every single year. Stanford, Navy, and then USC, who's already in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten might be trying the same thing. They're like, hey, Notre Dame, what if we bring in Stanford? What if we bring in Navy? What if we bring in Stanford and Navy? So part of this loose alliance could be the ACC kind of making the Pac-12 lower their guard. Hey, we're here to help. We want to help you get that TV deal. So let's make this loose alliance. That way we're showing that we're together in this, and maybe you'll get a good TV network. When really in the back of their heads are like, let's get their guards down just like the Big Ten did, and let's grab Stanford whenever they're not looking. That's one real possibility. Then there's the second possibility that I just started thinking of yesterday. And I actually got this idea from my good friend, JCP, the Outlaw of College Football. Go check out his channel. He's got some good stuff going on. In fact, I'm going to have him as a guest later on today on my live show at 5 o'clock. Come check it out. So anyways, this idea is that the ACC and the Pac-12 have this loose alliance because they're actually going to team up and turn their sights onto the Big 12 and pick some teams off the Big 12. This could actually be a real possibility. So instead of the Big 12 grabbing Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and possibly Oregon and Washington, which we've all heard they're in real talks with those teams, instead of that happening, it could get flipped around and the Pac-12's like, no. we'll take Kansas, we'll take Kansas State, we'll take Oklahoma State, and we'll take Texas Tech. And the ACC's like, well, yeah. And on top of that, we'll take a West Virginia, we'll take a TCU, a Baylor, an Iowa State, maybe some of the new teams that are coming in, like a UCF, a Cincinnati, or Houston. So this could be a joint effort of the ACC and the Pac-12 turning their sights onto the Big 12 and picking them apart. Now, y'all already know that I've been saying for about a year now that the ACC wants to bring in Notre Dame and West Virginia, and that's still on the table. And then whenever I heard that the Big Ten was talking to Notre Dame, I was like, there's no way that Notre Dame's going to turn down that money. And if that happens, West Virginia's not going to the ACC. Well, when I heard that Notre Dame is saying thanks but no thanks to the Big Ten, that is back on the table. And then I had some additional information whenever I talked to my sources about this, because I'm like, guys, this is driving me crazy. What's going on? That's when they added the extra information. Well, actually, the ACC is looking to add 4 teams by the 2025-2026 season. That's when the NBC contract for Notre Dame is up, and they'll probably renegotiate that. And of course, Notre Dame boards have been talking that they are seriously thinking about joining the ACC. So all of this does fit together as far as Notre Dame saying no to the Big Ten. We've been talking to the ACC. We're going to be able to renegotiate a TV deal with the ACC. That's who we're going with. And they would bring in West Virginia. And then with this loose alliance, they could actually go after more teams from the Big 12. Maybe teams that are actually coming into the Big 12 right now, like your UCF, your Cincinnati, your Houston, or maybe teams that are already in the Big 12 right now, like your Iowa States, maybe the Kansas schools, if they don't go to the Pac-12, Oklahoma State, any of the Texas schools. They could go after any of those teams if the plan was for the Pac-12 and the ACC to join up and go after the Big 12. So if I were a fan of a team in the Big 12, well, number one, your team's going to be fine no matter what. But if you're a fan of the Big 12 conference itself, you need to have your guard up. I know things have been looking good. Great for the Big 12 recently. We look safe. The Big 12 looks fine, safe. We look like we're going to expand, pick some teams out of the Pac-12. We're good to go. Not so fast. Not so fast. Things can flip in the blink of an eye, so do not put your guard down. And honestly, for West Virginia, if the Big 12 does grab those teams out of the Pac-12, that's actually more bad news for West Virginia because their travel just got worse. Now, that doesn't mean we're going out west every year all the time, but it'll add at least one more longer trip every year. I'm sure they'll try to schedule West Virginia to where they don't have to play a lot of teams out west every year. But I'm going to say at least one game out of the year, West Virginia will have to go to the West Coast for a road game. And that just adds to our travel expenses. And West Virginia is the #1 fan base as far as size. I've already done videos on it in the new Big 12, not counting Oklahoma and Texas. And we're tied with Kansas in the #1 revenue producing brand in the new Big 12, not counting Oklahoma and Texas. But the problem is we're dead last in profit because of travels. If you add 4 Pac-12 teams into the mix, we might actually be losing money just because of travel. So even though we'll be the top revenue producing brand, we still might be bottom of the barrel losing money because of travel expenses. So that's actually not good for West Virginia. Really, any of the teams that's on the east side of the Big 12, because they're padding the west side of the Big 12, not the east side. So if the Big 12 does get these teams from the Pac-12, they need to get some teams from the ACC. So this might be an either-or situation where the Big 12 goes after the Pac-12 and the ACC at the same time to add to the west side and the east side. And it could be the other way around where the ACC and the Pac-12 turn their attention to the Big 12 and pull them apart from the middle. The west part of the Big 12 goes to the Pac-12, and the east part of the Big 12 goes to the ACC. This could go in either direction. So do not let your guard down on conference realignment anytime soon, because the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC, all three are fighting for survival. Now, it looks like the Big 12 is in the best position right now, but things could flip in a matter of 24 hours. So keep your eyes and your ears peeled for any breaking news regarding the Pac-12, Big 12, and the ACC. Because right now, the Pac-12 is on life support, but remember, one short year ago, the Big 12 was on life support. And see how things quickly change for them. So I'm telling you, things could flip in the blink of an eye. Y'all let me know in the comments section, Which direction do you see this scenario going? Do you think the Big 12 is able to pick the Pac-12 and the ACC apart? Do you think the ACC is just trying to get the Pac-12's guard down to get Stanford with Notre Dame? Or do you think the ACC and the Pac-12 are going to go after the Big 12 together? Let me know in the comments. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.